Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Young members of parliament from ODM party. They are not comfortable how the leadership of ODM is. It is just yesterday when Oburu Odinga was being preferred as the party leader as per the delegates that visited Oburu Odinga's home in Bondo. Now, as we speak, remember earlier on, Babu Owino, led by Akina Sifuna and Caleb Amisi, they were leading 70 members of parliament in the group called Kenya Moja Movement. Now, this Kenya Moja movement is giving the leadership of ODM a lot of problem because this young leadership, they are like, if it is not us, then we are exiting ODM party. We are going to form our own party.
In 2017, I saw you, that time you were under NASA.
Yes.
You said, not in exact same words, but in similar language. You're now saying it again. You're working with the Secretary General of ODM, Edwin Sifuna, who is also in Kenya Moja. So what exactly is changing here?
Whatever didn't work in 2017, we will reclaim now. Whatever we lost in the fire, we shall get it in the ashes.
How so?
As soon as possible.
How will you do that?
Through Kenya Moja revolutionary movement.
So what is that? Because you come from ODM, she comes from UDA.
I started by telling you very well that Kenya Moja movement is a movement of like-minded members of parliament. The role of a member of parliament is to keep checks and balances in the excesses of the executive. That is one of the roles that we are playing as an oversight role to the executive.
Does ODM do that?
ODM has been doing that. ODM was in opposition until it joined the broad-based government. But I told you that Baba himself said that you are allowed to speak to the excesses of the government, and he said it severally. So therefore, we will not keep quiet and watch Kenyans suffer. So we will not keep quiet and watch people being taxed because of the unaffordable houses. We will not keep quiet and see our brothers and sisters not going to school because of expensive education.
So when you say that ODM does that, but when you list the like-minded MPs, you're not talking about ODM MPs. I don't know how many you are in parliament. You're talking about a few, and Gatuna Mushamba here. So what has happened there?
First of all, we are not a few. We are close to around 70 members of parliament who are in Kenya Moja movement.
Who are they?
We can't mention them all,
no,
but we are over 70 members of parliament.
I've only seen yourself, Gatanu Mushamba, Senator Sifuna, Caleb Amisi, Anthony Kibagendi. Who am I missing?
We are over 70 members of parliament, my brother.
Okay, I'm missing 65.
65, you will see them soon. And I want to tell you that even if you go by the minority, with God makes a majority.
But in parliament, you just said, minority have their say, majority have their way.
Because we are 349 members of parliament and we are close to around 70, which means that we are still the minority in parliament with the majority of Kenyans.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you look at how the ODM leadership has been while Raila Odinga was alive, you could testify that Raila, most of the time, you could try to embrace young leadership. And that is why his Secretary General all along, amekuanga Edwin Sifuna. When look at how this young leadership wamekuanga against William Ruto, you can tell Raila has, while he was alive, hakuwahi expel this young leadership. Despite of Babu Owino saying no to William Ruto, Edwin Sifuna saying to William Ruto, Caleb Amisi saying no to William Ruto, and several other members of parliament who are feeling like we cannot work with William Ruto. What we are seeing in ODM is simply some individuals who are having pressures. Who is taking over? Am I taking over Gladys Wanga? What about Oburu Odinga? What about Oparanya? What about Simbarati? What about Utsotsi of Vihiga? So what you're seeing here is some individuals who are feeling those who are rejecting and of course campaigning against the broad-based government, people like Babu, Owino and Sifuna, they have no space for the leadership of ODM. In fact, we are being told this young leadership who had, of course, occupied any office, like for example, like for example, Sifuna, who is currently the Secretary General of ODM, he should vacate. And even I've seen several meetings that are being operated by Gladys Wanga together with other members of parliament from Nyanza region. In other words, what I've seen is that they are trying to reduce the ODM party into a tribal party. It is no longer about national party. In fact, most of the time yesterday, when I was listening to these members of parliament, they were like, of course, grooming the party of ODM to be a Luo Nyanza thing. In other words, anyone who is occupying any space in ODM party or party leadership, and he or she is not a Luo, then she or he must vacate first, let the Luo people occupy these spaces, then later the remains you will occupy. When look at this, is something that this young leadership wamekuwa against, because majority of these young members of parliament, they are against tribal politics. They are against reducing ODM to be a tribal politics. But people like Gladys Wanga, together with her group, they are like the tribal politics ndio mahali huwa tuna survive. If we are going to remove this tribal politics, then according to them, ODM is likely not to be popular. That is what these individuals are trying to insinuate. But now, look at ODM in this scenario. Is ODM party going to remain a national party or a tribal party? I can tell you the ODM is likely to remain a tribal party. Number one, when the delegates went to Oburu Odinga's home, I expected, yes, they were to collect all the delegates across the Republic of Kenya so that they can endorse Oburu Odinga, then later the election. But now this proposal is coming with pure Luo endorsement, not even other tribe. It was pure Luo endorsement. So those who are loving ODM, they are coming out to ask, is this how now ODM is going to be governed? And if this is how the ODM is going to be, then we have no option but to exit the ODM. So expect these young leaders from ODM to, of course, vacate and form their own party. I told you here, number two, if this ODM is going to be tribal party, expect Akina Babu Owino to open their own party. And their party is going to compete with the ODM party. Are you getting that? So that they can have someone who will be addressing what Raila has been for the longest period of time. Raila has been pro-people. Raila has been having support across the Republic of Kenya. When you go to Coast, you will hear about Raila. When you go to Western, you will hear about Raila. When you go to Nyanza, you will hear Raila. When you go to Nairobi, you will hear Raila. Including even Mount Kenya region, Rift Valley, you will hear Raila. Kisii Nyamira, you will hear Raila. Northeastern Ukambani, you will hear Raila. So Raila was a leader that was like an icon in ODM party that unified a lot of people across the Republic of Kenya. But when you look at the leadership that is now being portrayed now, is a leadership that will portray tribal politics. That now we are in the government as Luos, not as ODM. Are you getting that? At the moment they are addressing that we are in broad-based government as Luos. Remember, the ODM national party is being removed. It's now remaining ODM owned by Luos. Which when you look at even supporters, delegates from Western, from Ukambani, from Coast, from Northeastern, Mount Kenya region, all over. By the way, I saw even ODM is having strong support in Laikipia, by the way. Before Raila Odinga died last month, Raila was in a certain burial there. You saw? And Raila was having huge delegate there. So when you look at this, this young leadership in ODM, if they want now to overshadow these individuals, they must come up with their own party. Because if they expect this elderly to give them the party leadership, then they are daydreaming. They are not willing to submit the party to the young leadership. And in fact, after the Secretary General of ODM, Anatolio Kosabao, they are feeling like the man, Edwin Sifuna, is against the so-called broad-based government, where William Ruto is the leader there. Lastly, Kenyans, what do you think if these 70 young members of parliament are going to decide we are not going to be part of ODM? Or maybe, these 70 young members of parliament, they are like, this tribal politics has been played for the longest period of time, and we are not going to be part of it. We are creating a movement that is going to, of course, liberate this country. And remember, liberation needs someone who is so concerned. One, they must have a vehicle that is a political party. Two, they must have a message. Three, they must ensure that this party that is coming will not be branded as a tribal political party. But if they're going to brand it, again, it will be the same as ODM. ODM will not remain the same again. The way I've always said in this channel, the ODM is not going to be is not going to be the same again. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? For more updates, ensure you subscribe to this channel. I've seen we've reached 91,000 subscribers. Let us ensure that at the end of this year, we reach 100,000 subscribers. I will appreciate you so much. For those who have not liked this video, ensure you like the video. You give your opinion at the comment section below and like this video. Bye bye till we meet in another video.